Hey guys, so in this video we're going to talk about Epic's recent blog post regarding FOV and siphon changes, as well as the evolution of Fortnite and competitive Fortnite. I also want to discuss an article that came out from Polygon that talks about the current work culture at Epic and how the success of Fortnite has basically forced their developers to work insane hours to keep up with bug fixes, patches, and pretty much everything else that goes on behind the scenes. The blog post and the Polygon article together basically confirm that Epic won't be reverting any of the changes they've made in the past few weeks and months. I highly suggest reading both of them, and I'll leave a link to both articles in the description of this video. Let's first start with the blog post that's titled Fortnite Competitive Development Update. So the blog post begins with a little preface of the problems that Epic has with balancing Fortnite competitively. They talk about their three main goals for developing and updating Fortnite. First, that the game is fun and inclusive, so players of all skill levels, including Little Jimmy with 9,000 matches and 0 wins, everyone can have fun and enjoy the game. I have absolutely no problems with this. That's how every game should work. Their second goal is to evolve the game rapidly and keep it fresh, which again, I can't say I'm against. If you look at Apex Legends, that was the hottest game for a month or two, but I think they've updated the game like once or twice since it first came out with barely any content updates. Fortnite knows content is what drives new players in and what makes players want to play again, so it's hard to disagree with their philosophy here. Epic's last goal for Fortnite development is to keep the game entertaining so people watch streamers and YouTubers like me. The next two paragraphs after that talk about the real problem though, balancing Fortnite competitively and having it similar to the real game. Epic stresses the importance of having competitive and normal game modes being similar so casual fans can still watch and enjoy the game. So this is the second paragraph in, and I already know that the rest of the blog post isn't going to be good just based off this. No matter what game you're playing, the competitive game mode should always be similar to the core game mode, I agree. But what scares me about Epic saying this is it comes off as if they're saying that competitive and normal Fortnite will be the same. They use the words essentially the same. You guys know how I feel about competitive Fortnite and the community feels about it right now. I made a video talking about how much of a joke it is. If Epic decides to keep competitive and casual Fortnite essentially the same, as they put it, competitive Fortnite will always be a joke. Fortnite could easily be one of the most entertaining and competitive esports. The building mechanics alone make it insanely unique, and the skill ceiling extremely high. But as a battle royale with RNG and chests and loot and gun rarities and having crap like boom bows in the game, it will never be truly competitive. So with Epic saying that they want the two sides of Fortnite to be essentially the same, they're kind of putting another nail in the coffin of competitive Fortnite. Now we can get into each change that Epic addresses, starting with the siphon and material changes. Siphon is the name for the feature that gives you health or shield back when you kill someone. They start off the siphon section by talking about why they added it to the game originally. Back in the early days of competitive Fortnite, even less people would take fights, and even more people would be alive endgame because there was no siphon. If you took a fight and got low, you were basically screwed unless the guy you killed had shields. You would waste materials, utility, and shields and heals trying to kill someone, and then after you loot their dead body, you'd get like 50 mats back and no heals at all. So Epic introduced the siphon and material gain changes so people would be more aggressive and they would actually want to push and fight people, which really was an amazing and healthy change for competitive Fortnite. Epic even admits in the blog post that everyone loved the siphon feature, but there was an unexpected consequence in normal game modes. Epic claims the top 10% of players in terms of skill enjoyed normal games more with the siphon feature, while the bottom 90% of players in terms of skill were more frustrated and started playing less. I can believe that a decent percentage of players did grow more frustrated. People were dropping 40 bombs in solo squads when siphon was in public matches. If you were a new player and you just kept repeatedly getting dumped on by like Mongrel and Tfue while playing public matches, you would probably not have that much fun and it would be boring if you just kept dying and going back to the lobby over and over again. But this random statistic of 10% enjoyed it and 90% didn't, that's just made up. Where did they even get these numbers from? I know for a fact it's made up because they didn't link any sort of data, they just feed us this BS and these stupid random statistics and expect us to believe it. There's absolutely no way that 10% of players enjoyed siphon and the other 90% didn't. Epic concludes the siphon section by saying in order to try and get these players to come back and play more, they basically tried to get the sweats out of public matches, so they removed siphon and mats per kill. Then they add this little stupid pretentious paragraph at the end that says you can play Arena if you want to have the siphon and mats per kill in the game. Oh, thanks Epic. I love playing Arena with 15-minute queue times and 20 people sitting in balls all game. Like, yeah, I'm definitely gonna go play it now. I didn't realize that it had siphon changes the whole time. Anyways, onto the second change that Epic addressed, stretch resolutions and field of view. Epic starts off this section by saying they are actually listening and understand that everyone didn't like the removal of stretch res and that we all want an FOV slider. Then they completely go the other direction and say that stretch res detracts from the entertainment experience of Fortnite, which is completely subjective, so I'm not really sure why they can say it so matter-of-factly. Also, if Epic had a working spectator client, this wouldn't even be a problem. Tell me how a billion-dollar company doesn't have a decent spectator system. It's kind of absurd. Then comes the kicker. Word for word, Epic says, fundamentally, we seek to avoid optional settings which provide players with a significant gameplay advantage. Not only are they confirming here that there won't ever be an FOV slider or stretch resolutions added again, but they're also against optional settings that give you an advantage. If Epic said that they were against settings that were only available to some people that gave them an advantage, then I would agree. But an optional setting, optional means it's available for everyone. How stupid can you be to be against a setting that is optional for everyone and that can benefit everyone? Does Epic not realize that there are a bunch of optional settings that can give me an advantage right now? Like the fact that I can play on 240 frames with a 240Hz monitor on 0 ping, while a dude halfway across the US is playing on 30 FPS with a 60Hz monitor and 50 ping? I can play on all those settings, including shadows off. Does this mean Epic is going to make everyone play on 60 FPS with all Epic settings and shadows and motion blur on because people on console do? Or what about aim assist 2? That's literally an optional setting that gives a significant competitive advantage. Epic wants everyone to be equal in Epic's subjective and idiotic view of being equal, yet it has, and it always will be, impossible for that to happen. Why not give everyone the same options so they can decide what to use? That statement from Epic alone is one of the most brain-dead things I've ever read in my life.
Fundamentally, we're against optional settings that provide an advantage.
They're literally optional, Epic. Holy crap. To finish the stretch resolution and FOV section, they then make me lose even more brain cells by saying they chose the current FOV of 80 because it's good for all engagements, which is a lie because I literally can't see people above me. It's better for performance and visual fidelity, which wouldn't be true if they actually optimized their trash game, and that the current native FOV is less visually jarring and stretch res FOVs will give you motion sickness. Where the hell does this even come from? Again, this is another subjective and just frankly stupid thing that Epic says like it's a fact. Since when was playing on a higher FOV harsher to look at or more likely to give me motion sickness? If anything, playing on native gives me motion sickness and headaches since I can't see anything or anyone. I can't even see my damn character model's toes on 80 FOV, but yeah, thank you Epic for not giving us an FOV slider because apparently it would cause motion sickness. The third section of the post is called Game Evolution. They talk about trying to cater to everyone, which is why they have special events and why tournaments will be on the weekends. They also say they'll keep adding content to make Fortnite fresh because new and fresh gameplay and tournaments are what keeps people entertained and what gets viewers. It's more of the same fluff that we know and been hearing for months, and they end the section by saying they'll try not to make huge changes before the World Cup finals and some of the qualifiers, but not all of them. So basically they're going to change whatever they want, when they want, and you'll be forced to adapt. This isn't really anything new because we all know the Fortnite World Cup will be taking place over 2 different seasons and 10 weeks, so there's no way that there can't be game-changing features added, since Epic makes competitive essentially the same as their normal game modes. Right before every big tournament or LAN so far, they've added some crazy new feature or gameplay changes that completely changes the meta, so they're just reaffirming that they won't be stopping this and that competitive Fortnite is just a marketing tool for Epic. The last section goes over some bugs that they're working on, like ghost shots and traps halfway through walls. I'm not a dev, obviously, but it's still insane that these bugs haven't been fixed. The post then concludes with them once again saying they're going to communicate with the community more. If I had to sum up the whole thing, they basically said, we hear all your concerns, but we don't care. People are still spending money on the game, and people are still playing it. The only time that Epic has actually changed Fortnite for the better so far was when Apex Legends came out, and it slashed their revenue in half, and it took a good chunk of their player base. Now that everyone realizes Apex devs are just as bad as Fortnite's, and the game is even worse than Fortnite is, Epic has no competition, and they know it. I can almost guarantee they're just waiting for another good game to come out, and then they'll add an FOV slider and start making good changes. Since we are on the topic of Epic mistreating the player base, especially the competitive player base, I'll quickly talk about the Polygon article that I mentioned before that said that Epic is actually mistreating its employees too. Because Fortnite has become so successful, the corporate people at Epic are forcing all the developers to constantly be in a crunch. A crunch or crunch time for a company is when the company needs to meet a deadline, so they'll work longer hours than usual to make sure they get the work done before the deadline hits. Every time a bug pops up or a new weapon is added, they're forced to work overtime. Not only is this driving employees away from Epic, but it gives us insight into how things are run there. I said it in my other video, but it's the corporate dumbasses at Epic who don't even play the game. They just see the bottom line and the revenue in Fortnite, and they're making the decision off that. They don't care that there are a ton of bugs that need to be fixed. They want more revenue, so they tell the devs, add a new weapon or a vehicle. If it hasn't been clear from the blog post, Epic does not care and they won't be reverting anything. I don't think we will ever get siphon or math per kill back in normal game modes, and I don't think we'll get an FOV slider either. If Epic drives competitive players away, these are the ones that everyone watches, like Tfue. These are the content creators that we all know and love, and that'll force everyone else away, including Little Jimmy, who watches Ninja and Tfue. So if you guys did enjoy this video, please be sure to drop a like, subscribe to the channel, and to turn on post notifications. Thank you to everyone who's using my code, even though the game is ass and Epic hates us all. I would tell you guys to stop spending V-Bucks, but we're in the minority and it wouldn't even make a difference in the grand scheme of things. I do truly appreciate all of you guys who support me and my content, even though I do complain a lot. I just want the game to be fun and good again. That's why you guys see me playing frickin' Team Rumble, because the normal game modes and arena are just so boring and annoying to play. So again, thank you guys for sticking with me, and I hope you guys enjoy these types of videos. Otherwise, that's it from me, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Later.